can tell.
Actually, I just hit the button right now.
Yeah, that figures.
Welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And on this episode, I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I am all out of bubblegum.
I had a feeling you were going to go there right off the bat.
Oh, man. That... 6 years ago when Roddy Piper died, of course, I grew up a big wrestling fan. I know you did too, and Piper was one of my favorites.
That was one of my favorites also. Yeah.
Even when he was a heel, he was like so good at it that you had to respect the fact that he was. Of course, by the time he had left and started, Did They Live?
Yeah.
He had turned face.
Well, we should actually talk about what we're
going to.
We're talking about the November 4th
of They Live,
1988 release of John Carpenter's They Live.
What I was getting to is that year for my fantasy football team, my team was named all out of bubblegum. And my little I had the photo of him standing with the shotgun,
nice.
That was my so it's I miss Roddy quite a bit. He had a podcast the last few years of his life, and he actually had John Carpenter and Deborah Hill on there.
Nice.
And they talked about this, on there and everything. So it's
how he got this role, right?
Go ahead.
He met John Carpenter at WrestleMania 3. And
which was his farewell match against adorable Adrian Adonis.
And Carpenter was like, unlike any of the actors that I know, this guy has life written all over his face.
Right.
And that's the reason he got the role.
Yeah, it's we'll get into it. So we're going to be talking about They Live. We said 1988, correct?
1988, November 4th.
November 4th, okay. I remember when this movie was released. I did not see it in the theaters.
I don't think anybody saw this thing in the theaters. It was not well received.
How did it? I'll have to look it up and see how it actually did in the theaters. But it was one of those. It was like, I want to see this, and of course the fact it was the Roddy Piper. I was like, oh hey, it's Roddy Piper. And at the time, and of course knowing that it was a John Carpenter movie, you're like, oh, that's the guy that did Halloween and The Thing and several other movies. I was interested.
What's funny is that on the release, it was actually supposed to be released on October 21st. It got pushed back 2 weeks to avoid direct competition with Halloween 4.
Fair enough. Okay.
Which he had nothing to do with.
Right, but it was still. Let's see.
He was like, I don't want to have to compete with my own property.
It had a budget of $4 million, and it grossed $13 million. So it
pulled 4.8 in the first weekend.
Right, which is, it made its money back 3 times over.
Yeah.
But even that would not have been seen then nor now as a success. It's... Which is crazy, but we don't have to get into all that stuff. But the funny thing, I remember the first time seeing this movie on home video, obviously. I remember my mom being like, because my mom had watched it, and I was like, oh, I want to watch, I want to see that, And she's like, I don't know. And she was like, I was like, why? What's so good? Well, she's like, the very last scene of the movie is was like, because there's that nude scene, and she was like, it's just whatever, and I was I don't know 14 or whatever when they're type thing, and it was one of those things I was going to watch it regardless. It was just kind of it was there because she had rented it, and rather than waiting until somebody was out of the house or just sitting down and watching it without everybody saying it, was kind of one of those, I said something about it, and she's like, I don't know about that, and I was just like, whatever, and liking it. It's a bit slow.
No, this movie's a grinder.
Okay.
It's a slow burn film.
A grind, not a grinder. Grinder is something completely different. Okay?
You know what I mean. This is not going to be a repeat of the last episode, is it?
Oh, we might pick up a whole new demo for this audience.
No. I mean, this movie's a slow burn. How about that?
Mm-hmm. And the thing is that he doesn't... Especially in the first half of the movie, he doesn't talk a whole lot.
There's not a lot of dialogue
in general.
Yeah.
the thing with rewatching this, like I think I told you before we hit record, I had not seen this in probably 15 years.
Yeah.
I remember watching it then. Like I remember very distinctly the last time that I watched They Live, and having whole new eyes on it than the previous times that I had seen it, and being like, oh wow, there's a lot more going on here than I remembered.
Yeah,
Well, and then last night being like, oh, there's a whole lot more going on here.
Part of that is growing up and gaining some experience. And watching it through a new perspective every time, because it gets more sinister every time.
And we'll get into all of this because what do you have there as far as because Dave came prepared for this one because he loves John Carpenter and
yeah, I do. But I just pulled some notes.
What do you have about like the because I know it's based on a book.
It's it's not a book.
Or it was a short story.
It's a short story. Right. It is.
Was it 8 a.m.?
No, it's called 8 o'clock in the morning.
8 o'clock in the
by
morning.
Ray Nelson.
Yes.
It is literally 5.5 pages long. Here's a copy of the story if you want it. I literally just printed it off.
Wow.
And it's very different from the movie.
I will read that. Seriously, we'll read this later.
The short story actually starts with in the story, I think his name's George Nada.
It's George, yeah. Which
the last name is still Nada, which
right.
he kept.
And they only say
movie.
It like one time in the movie. Yeah, that's it.
But it starts with him waking up on a stage, and he's been part of a hypnotist act.
Okay.
In a theater. The problem is that the hypnotist woke him all the way up.
Oh, okay. And so now he's seeing.
And he's an old man in the story. Okay. And he's now fully awake and starting to see what's going on.
Uh-huh. Fair enough.
So in the movie they changed it a little bit, and Carpenter being the lefty that he is,
right?
Very much.
Oh, it's very much about Reagan.
It's very much about the Reagan era,
right.
Reaganomics and all of that, and the excess of the 80s.
There is a scene that like really stood out to me early on when they're at the homeless camp, and he's watching the television, and there's a politician. And it's a commercial for this, or it's like a campaign commercial. Yeah, and it's very reminiscent of the morning. It's Morning in America, Reagan, 1984. Like his re-election campaign in '84. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, he's really leaning into this.
Oh, he was leaning into it hard. And anytime anybody asked him about it, he was like, oh yeah, absolutely, I hated Reagan, and this was I rewrote this story to be, a criticism of.
Fair enough. Whatever.
Okay, cool.
It's funny watching it because there's so many parallels to now.
Oh, I know.
Like the longer I was watching, I was like, oh wow, this is aged really well.
Oh, it's aged. This is like fine wine aged really well, and it was how I ended up coming across it again because I was looking. We were trying to come up with a new episode, and I got home from work one night, and I picked up my Roku remote, and I said, movies released this week in the 80s.
Right.
And this was the first one that came up. Cool. Okay. I was like, oh, yeah, great idea. Sat down and watched it, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, that was like, because you told me that it was on Peacock, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll go check it out. And, last night I was like, all right, let's watch this. And I was just sitting there, and it was just like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh wow, I don't remember this being so relevant now. Wow, I don't remember this being so real. Wow, that really hit things on the nose.
This is why this movie has ended up on I don't know how many different of those movie gym lists that you
now I'm sure
have to go back and watch.
The funny thing
kind of
about
rates up there with the John Hurt version of 1984 and some of those.
The funny
others.
thing about it is especially talking about like with Carpenter hating Reagan so much, and and this being a very pointed like at the Reaganomics of the 1980s and stuff. I wonder how he feels about it now that like it's so pointed to what the left is doing.
Well, it's not just the left.
Of course, we don't. It's pretty
everybody.
Much,
it's pretty
really
much
is.
the government in
the media, and really it. I get them going.
Me while I sit here in the middle and point my fingers at both of them and go, "You both suck."
Yeah. Well.
So.
Dave, we both know you're not a centrist. I am the centrist on this thing.
You're more centrist than I am.
I was trying to. Corey and I had dinner the other night, and we were talking, and he was sitting there, and he said something about being like, right of center. And I'm like, or he said, or being center right. And I'm like, whoa, no. I was like, Corey, you might be right of center, but you're not center right.
Yeah. Corey, I love you, but
yeah, I was like, I am more right of center, or center right.
Well, you're almost,
I'm like,
you're
I'm
almost
pretty
center.
I'm almost center, but I do have my leanings, and it depends on what topic we're talking about.
Same here.
I kind of tilt, back and forth, but. Yeah, but just hearing him say that he was center left, I'm like, no, or center right. I'm like, no.
You're right of center.
You're right of center. That's
you're kind of.
You're not quite to Tucker Carlson, but you're definitely not in the center.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but this thing. To have, of course, it's an alien race that's controlling everybody.
Yes.
But to have a level of people that are
compliant,
in control, and using the folks that they consider below them,
right?
As their.
Oh yeah. And I remember watching this the first time. There's that scene. What's the guy's name? The one dude that's in the homeless camp with him that's always watching TV. He's got the growling. I'm talking about.
Is that Gilbert?
No, it's not Gilbert Godfrey. It's hold on, I've got it.
No,
right
not
here.
Gilbert Godfrey. The character's name was Gilbert.
No, it's just Drifter.
Is it just
George,
Drifter?
George Flower is the guy's name.
George Buckflower.
Buckflower, yeah. And which he was in Back to the Future and Starman, and he was in. Looks like he's in a bunch of Carpenter stuff. I think wasn't he also? And maybe I've got my actors. Wasn't he Rizzo on MASH also, or am I wrong about that? Maybe it's just the voice makes me think.
I think you're wrong on that.
It might be. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure you're wrong on that one.
He's just billed as Drifter on this thing. The thing with it is that there's a scene early on when they're like, whenever Nada is investigating the church, he knows there's something's going on over there, And this guy is talking to a couple of the other ones, and he says something about, I'm hearing stuff on the street about San Francisco or San Antonio about the fight, the riots, and they've killed a bunch of people, type stuff. And then of course, when Nada first comes in, he's at the job place, and he was
the
talking
construction
about
site.
Well, no, when he's at the unemployment office.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he's saying, I came from Denver. Things got bad. We lost 14 banks in a week or something. It's one of those things where you kind of have this. There's something going on.
There's an economic collapse going on. You're hearing rumors of riots in San Antonio,
and of course, this is all pre-internet.
Yeah.
So
one of the first scenes in the movie is him literally getting off a train that he's obviously, snuck across country on. He's got his backpack with his sleeping bag and very much an obvious drifter.
Right. Something else, did you notice that he's wearing a wedding ring?
Yes.
All the way through this. He never really talks about a family. Now we hear about the family that
that Frank Armitage has.
That Keith David has. That he's is he went in Texas? Is that where?
No, it's Detroit.
It's Detroit.
It's
That's
Detroit.
Right.
Yeah.
Talking about I'm trying to get back. I got a job now, and they're all in L.A. I mean this is and it's very obviously 80s L.A. And it's an interesting, because it's one of those things where it kind of drops you in this world, and then doesn't tell you anything about it at the very front end. You have to learn about it slowly over time.
You have to learn about it with Nada.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a whole lot more going on underneath the surface than what we're told. Even at the end of the movie, we're like, no, even beyond just the the aliens of it all. It's like, no, there's this world. It's very similar to ours, but very different also.
Yes.
You know, and did you notice like where the "they live" came from?
Yeah, it was a part of that graffiti in the
graffiti. It said "they live while we sleep." And it's a which is one of those things we kind of
which is in the opening scene. I mean, that's how the title comes in. It comes in. It says "they live," and then that "live" blends into that graffiti wall that they then passed to show Nada getting off that train.
That's right. So, do we want to talk about the fight, or do we want to save that?
Let's save that. Let's talk about who was actually in this thing. So we had Roddy Piper as Nada.
Yes.
We had Keith David,
who is wonderful in everything he ever shows up
in.
You
realize that this is the same man who voiced Goliath for Gargoyles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Keith David's done so much stuff over the years. I mean,
much stuff.
Again, one of those dudes that if he shows up in a movie, you're like, oh, this movie might suck, but he's going to be good in this.
Like,
you know,
he had a small part in Quick and the Dead.
Yes,
but that character was amazing.
Yes,
you know, that type of thing.
We got Meg Foster.
Who I can't. She's one of those. It's like I recognize her. I can't place her though. And I didn't bother to go back and look her up.
The other movie that I remember with her was she was in Leviathan. She played Evil Lynn in the Masters of the Universe movie.
Right, I'd forgotten about that.
And then Rob Zombie's used her in Lords of Satan and Lords of Salem and 31. But she was in because it was one of those things where she had like that several year period of time where she wound up in several things, you know, where it was like, oh yeah. And the thing is that she's got those striking eyes of just like, you can't miss her.
It's almost unnatural.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of those things, she has a tendency to kind of play bad guy, to play the villain, you know?
Absolutely.
What else was she was in The Hitchhiker. You know what? The Stepfather 2.
I've forgotten about that movie.
Yeah, I mean, so it's one of those things that like she's one of those actors that shows up.
Yeah,
and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember her.
Yeah,
of course. You know, Keith David also was in The Thing.
Oh yeah,
you know, I mean, that's probably his really big. You know, I mean, he's been in so much stuff, but you know, again, the whole John Carpenter. Of it all,
don't put your fun away because
all right.
We also have Raymond St. Jacques, or however you say that, as the street preacher.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff.
And he did a really good job with that. And he's only in it for like the first fourth of the movie.
Right, and it really is. He's in, 3 scenes or something like that? He's there.
He's in the park when Nada gets off the train and he comes by and that he's playing the blind street preacher.
Right.
And as Nada comes walking up, the cops show up to drag him off. They get him back, and then he shows up that night at the shantytown. And if you're watching him, he's actually mouthing what's going on the TV, which is what catches Nada's attention.
Right, and that's when he starts. And then what's his name? The guy that's kind of taking care of everybody.
I'm guessing that was Gilbert.
Gilbert. Yeah, he's the head of
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jason.
Sorry.
He's the head of the resistance, basically, you know, and he's kind of like trying to wrangle him, like, hey, come on over, go back to the church, you know. And then he shows up again whenever Nada goes into the church.
Yeah.
Because he finds
he's the one who finds Nada in the back of the church.
And then when the raid happens, the last time he's seen, he's swinging his cane wildly at these riot police
who showed up to basically bulldoze the encampment and burn the church down.
That, like, and every time that those police officers show up, that whole again, it's something that we have seen many times over the years in different circumstances. You know, sometimes in the U.S., more so outside of the U.S. You know,
here,
of course, here in the last couple of years, we've seen it
US.
Inside the U.S., but it's still kind of jarring the way that they just all of a sudden show up out of nowhere, and it's just
they're lined up, and they got the riot gear on, they've got the clear shields out in front of them, and they're basically going to Roman legion right over the top of anybody that's there.
And then bringing the bulldozers, you know, and just going right after everything. And it really is. It's a very striking image of, oh, wow, this is, this is not good.
Anytime you see a show of force like that, out of anybody.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. Having people just show up in the streets and, just being a mass of people is one thing.
Right.
Having an organized show of force
that's something completely different.
That's another level.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of one of those weird. I understand that they're trying to find where the signal's coming from and who is leading the resistance, that kind of stuff. But the fact that they just go straight into the homeless camp is kind of odd, because it's like they focus in on this church because they know something's going on there, but then they're just like, okay, well, this is right across the street. While we're here, we'll just go ahead and clean this out at the same time. And it's just kind of like, okay, that's weird, And then they show up again later, like when they actually find the resistance, And again, that's a whole thing. While I'm thinking about it, later when we get into the when they're in the secret base, and you've got all these security guards that are like dressed in like the blue or the white camo, that kind of stuff. Did you watch them? Apparently, no one went to any of them and said, "Okay, this is how you do. This is how you carry your weapon. This is how you." I mean, it's just like.
$3 million budget, man.
But it was still kind of.
They're supposed to be background characters.
I know, but it was still one of those things. Like every single one of them, like when they're chasing, Nada and Keith David's character. It's one of those things where they're like, I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, man, none of them know how to carry a gun. None of them know how to they don't know how to clear a building. They don't know how to, because it's like, they're just all like running right out in the middle of hallways and stuff. And it's just like, what are you doing?
And now that I think about it, that might be the point, because all of those guards were aliens.
Yeah, I know, but you would still think that if you are, taking over, if you're an intergalactic force that's like, even if you're doing it in secret, you would still think that you would have some knowledge of how to do this.
Well, they talk about that a little bit, because they're like, as long as they're not seen, they've got nothing to worry about, and they're not really dominating. Species.
Right.
They're business people. It's all a big business deal.
Right, and that's
they're cultivating this planet and these humans for food stock, and they're selling it to other species.
Right, and it's all, and they're taking it over by greed.
Yeah,
is what they're doing. I mean, that's the, which makes perfect sense, because that there's always going to be somebody to sell out the human race for greed.
It's usually going to be one of us that sells each other out for. But they talk about it like it's more of a business deal than it is an actual invasion.
And that's the whole thing with the Drifter. Like later, when you find out that he's been recruited and he sees them, he's like, "Oh, they recruited you. I would, blah blah blah." And he's like being completely like arrogant of like, "Oh yeah, let me show you all this stuff. Let me,
But it's more of a recruitment thing than it is a dominating, because they've basically lulled the entire population into a trance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
the whole the obey and all this stuff, it have become pop culture. They've become iconic in a lot of ways.
You see kids, you see these stinking Zoomers walking around with T-shirts that say "obey" on them. You're like,
but you also see them show up every once in a while in memes and this and that. And of course, there's always somebody that shows up to a protest with stuff straight out of this, no matter what side they're on, and I mean, it's really become, and it's kind of cool. Did you see the, Reaction does the little 3 3/4, like they're kind of like the old, like, they look like the Star Wars figures, like the 5-point of articulation, to
like the Kenner stuff.
Yeah, they look a lot like the Kenner stuff. They've done those for years now, but they did a couple of They Live, and it's
I didn't see those.
and it's the aliens,
Did they do a Nada?
No, it's just the aliens.
Oh.
They didn't do, or they may have, and I just missed it. The only ones I've seen are the aliens, and they usually
it would be cool to have like an alien and a nada.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think they probably didn't because of the licensing with Piper, and all that stuff. Especially now that he's gone, and I know his wife and family. He's got a son and a daughter also. That I'm sure they could probably get it, but who knows?
It's going to cost them.
Yeah, but the thing is, they didn't do any of the other ones that I'm aware of.
It's not like they're not going to sell.
Well, exactly, but the thing is that the aliens that they did, even for being the low articulation and stuff, they did a really good job on the paint jobs on their face. And
nice.
Stuff. So yeah. And I think that one of them comes with a newspaper that says it has like "obey" written on the front of it, or whatever. So it's
nice.
Yeah. What do you got?
But I was just looking to see who else.
You want to talk about the music a little bit?
Well, no, hold on. I was looking to see. Because I kind of put down some notes.
Mm-hmm. I know that the middle part of it, when he gets the glasses, like when he puts them on and he's starting to realize what's going on.
Well, Carpenter had also pulled from a lot of sources. It wasn't just the short story.
Right.
He pulled from like a comic book. He was taking input from cast and crew.
Right.
He actually decided to use the pseudonym Frank Armitage as a nod towards a Lovecraft story, because Carpenter's a big Lovecraft fan,
and you can see that with The Thing.
Yeah, and the nod was to Henry Armitage in Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror.
Okay,
so some of that, I'm trying to see what else I had. It was kind of busy the last couple of days at work.
I got you. I get it.
Yeah, the whole Lovecraftian underworld part of the movie is where he pulled that from.
Okay, so makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into some of the music.
Actually, before we do that, let's talk about the fight. This fight scene is iconic for a lot of reasons.
Well, it's funny.
It's funny.
It's brutal.
It's brutal, and it goes on forever.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it's
a wrestling match.
Well, yeah, but unlike most movie fights that you see, this one's got a lot more real life in it.
Yeah.
They're winded. They, they get hurt and they stay down. They don't just get back up and it's one of those things.
That was Roddy's influence.
yeah, and there is a lot of wrestling, and
yeah.
One of them does a belly to back suplex, and and you see several different things like that, but it's most notably it was in South Park when they had the quote cripple fight episode with Jimmy and Timmy.
I had completely forgot about that.
It is a shot-for-shot recreation of that fight. And it was one I remember watching that, because that was back when I was still watching South Park. I was sitting here watching it with my roommates, and when it got started, I'm like, oh, I recognize this. This is
yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah.
There were a lot of people that were talking about that afterwards.
But it's one of those things that people every time this movie comes up, somebody will talk about the fight scene. And
the fight scene's iconic.
It is,
like you said. And, of course,
that and
smashing up those cars. And
when he walks into the bank with the shotgun, and he says, I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Yeah.
And that was an improv.
That was Roddy's.
Roddy came up with that completely. Because like I said, I was a huge Piper fan, so I listened to his podcast and all that kind of stuff, and he had the last few years, like I said, when he was doing his podcast and everything, he had a sponsorship with Jones Cola it was called All Out of Bubblegum.
Yeah.
It was a bubblegum flavored soda.
I actually had that before I found out I had diabetes.
Yeah, and
it
so
was actually not bad.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things that he had fully embraced all of them. It's an iconic movie. It's one of those things of most people don't know that they're making a cult movie when they make it, but then all of a sudden they realize years later it's like, oh, we made a cult classic, you know, and that's one of the things that this movie caught on fairly. Like, again, I did not see it in the theater as most people didn't. I saw it on home video,
VHS,
but then it hit HBO and all that stuff, and not only that, it also hit USA and
that
TBS,
was actually the first place I saw it. Was on USA Up All Night. And I was like, "What is this?"
And so
a buddy was like, "Oh, dude, you can rent that at the at you know, the IGA because I think we were still living in Illinois at that point."
Right. And that was one of the things. This is one of those movies that once it hit cable, all of a sudden people were talking about it again several years later, you know, and it just kind of kept building that momentum and building it and building it and building it. And I was sitting there watching this last night, and one of the things that went through my head about midway through, I was like, please God, don't let them try to remake this.
There was, I don't think I put that in my notes, but there was talk in 2010 of a remake, and it never went anywhere.
Good. Some things do not need to be remade.
No,
I'm
absolutely
sorry.
not.
Some things do not need sequels. I know, haven't they done some like comic books or something that kind of tell
I think so, you know. But you know,
I don't know. Obviously, I didn't do my homework on that, but I seem to remember that back in the 2000s somewhere. I think it was.
It seems like everybody
IDW was doing a bunch of like
gets a comic book at some point.
They were kind of because like, you know, those they did several like there was a Halloween comic book that kind of like told some other story, you know, and there was The Thing, and there was several like.
I think the Halloween thing was actually trying to do the anthology type thing.
Well, I know some of it did tie back into the whole Michael Myers story, you know. It's one of those things where there was, again, when you're looking at the 2000s, you're looking at all that. Oh, let's get all this nostalgia. We got to go back into this, and so it's like, oh, we've got this property. We can do this. Oh, we can do this. We can do this. It's like we don't need all this. You know, it's like there's a reason we don't need.
No,
all this
if you're gonna do it, find somebody who loves that property.
Yes,
and let them do it correctly.
Yes.
I know I keep hitting on the Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau Star Wars stuff that's going on Disney Plus. Honestly, those are the two that should have done the last three movies. I mean,
the Mandalorian is the best Star Wars I've seen in a long
in a long time. Yeah, of the new stuff.
Rogue One was really good.
Rogue One was really good. I actually enjoyed Solo.
Solo was not bad. I enjoyed Solo. Okay, it was not a great movie, but I liked it for what it was.
It's a popcorn Star Wars movie is what it is.
The biggest problem I had with Solo is that they felt the need to try to explain stuff that didn't need explanation, like the dice and the his last name and different. It's like, no, we don't need any of that. We don't need any of it.
We don't need any of the retcon.
Yeah, none of that. Just let it go.
But I think some of that was already in the works before Ron Howard got a hold of it.
Well,
because I forget who had it.
It was the
I forget who had it before Ron Howard. I think Ron Howard did a
what were those
pretty
guys?
Good job with saving it.
What were those guys' names?
Because I think J.J. Abrams looked at him and said, "Okay, enough of this garbage."
No, what was the guys? It was it's a duo, and they were wanting to do a lot more comedy with it.
Yeah,
and then Disney stepped in and said, "Hey, this is Star Wars. We don't do comedy." And
that's a load of crap.
I know,
because everybody knows Han Solo was the comedy relief. in the original trilogy,
right? Well, just him chasing the stormtroopers in the Death Star, and then coming around the corner and like then a whole battalion standing there. It's like, it's back the other way.
Well, that didn't take long. We got company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's I don't know. We've rambled already. We've gotten to Star Wars already, which says something. But we were talking about the music.
Yes.
John Carpenter did the music on this, which
he wasn't the only one. He had somebody working with him.
It was.
Sorry, my mic.
That's okay. I just had it here, and now I can't get to it in my computer because the thing that's the music that played first of this episode. It's the
the music that plays all the way through the movie.
And it's funny because like you listen to you go and you listen to the other stuff that John Carpenter has worked on, like the Halloween score or the Thing or the Fog. Like he did all of his stuff, all for that. And you listen to this one, and this is a little different.
Oh, it's very different.
This is very bluesy. It's like this isn't what I was expecting. Synths and they're very moody and.
No, this is almost like a three-piece.
This is very blue-collar, working man.
Drums, bass, and a little something else.
I think there's a harmonica in there.
Yeah.
And guitar.
There's not much there, but
no,
what
it's
it
sparse,
does...
But again, it's a far cry from all the synth stuff that he had done in the past. Again, it works. It's the best music works for what you're doing,
right?
That's
and it doesn't have to be fancy necessarily.
No, not the slightest. I mean, that's
all I'm going to say is Jaws.
Yeah,
Psycho.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween's of those three. Halloween's a little more complicated than the others.
It is.
It's but it's still. Do we really want to talk about parallels?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. Let's get into some conspiracy theories here, okay?
Or as Adam Curry says, we are your conspiracy therapists.
I'm going to say, I'm going to put those two words up front.
Okay,
on this.
Conspiracy theory alert.
Yeah,
folks,
because we do not endorse any of this stuff. It's just the things that you got to go back to the lizard people. You went right back to Bigfoot and all of that stuff. Well, but I'm just talking about, there has been this.
You're talking about the Illuminati and the lizard people
that actually are at the top, which falls right into this. Okay, the lizard people are supposedly alien, so it's well, here we are. They're not lizard people, but they are aliens, and people, they're shapeshifters, and these aren't necessarily shapeshifters like they talk about the lizard people being shapeshifters,
right?
But they definitely are masking what they really look like.
Yes, exactly.
That's also something in watching the movie. The fact that all of a sudden. I think it's the biggest inconsistency that I saw in this was that he puts the glasses on, and all of a sudden he not only is seeing stuff, like that's written, but he there's these drones that are flying that he couldn't see otherwise, and he's also starting to hear stuff that wasn't there before, and I'm like, I don't think it quite works that way.
Yeah,
but again, that's a small quibble to have on all this. So.
Unless those sunglasses actually are allowing him to see through the hologram.
I don't know.
And if it's breaking the hologram, I don't know.
And then whole thing of
I'm stretching it
I know,
a bit.
and they talk about with the longer he wears them, the more that it's killing his head, and all this kind of stuff. I get that, and I can understand that headache. I understand.
But that was also the first set of
when they're watching the transmission, and it's
that's the first set of
of
identifying glasses.
Once when they get to
when they get to the actual organization meeting,
they've
upgraded and improved.
They've got contacts,
and
I'm like, man, imagine not being able to take those contact lenses out and the headache that you would have after a while.
Unless they figured out what was causing the headaches, they fixed that part of it.
We're writing parts of their script for them that's not there. But,
we're retconning a bit. So.
I know we started talking about conspiracy theories.
Oh, and the fact that they're doing all of this with the mainstream media on Cable 54.
Yes, the mainstream media. We could get into all that, as well as there are some people who believe that, with the Illuminati or whatever, like the Bilderbergs or whatever you want to go into, whatever the Trilateral Commission, whichever clandestine.
Wow, you went full Alex Jones right there. I'm impressed.
Whichever clandestine organization you want to go with here, is basically trying to, get all the power and then basically turn everyone else into cattle, which they say in this at one point.
It's that whole transhumanist.
Movement. You got the Bohemian Grove and it's there's so much of that stuff that you can go into, which I love the absurdity of all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And also the fact that I kind of have to keep up with a lot of it because I have a family member who's starting to believe some of that crap. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So it's just like,
well, just add it
it's
on.
Like I gotta know what they're talking about so I can tell them how stupid they are.
Well, just add it on to your Bigfoot stuff and your UFO stuff.
I know. And it's like, I'm just waiting for the, and
you just leave me and my paranormal, ghost hunting stuff alone.
I know. That reminds me. Did you notice when they are in the hidden base?
Yeah.
That the one of the security guards has got a piece of tech and he's trying to and
it's straight out of Ghostbusters.
It's Ghostbusters, yeah. It's the EV detector. Yeah, it's
it's. I was like, oh, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I
they
know.
borrowed tech from Ghostbusters.
I was thinking, like, man, that was like 4 years later, but Ghostbusters 2 was just a year away, so I guess maybe
it was in between the two.
Yeah, so
Carpenter called up Aykroyd. It's like, hey, I
don't know.
You got some stuff I can borrow?
You see that kind of stuff happen quite like the the armor that they use in Starship Troopers has been in a ton of stuff. It was in Firefly and Serenity and all that, but it's been in a whole bunch of like they have reused that armor. They just basically like painted a different color.
Yeah, they painted different designs and all that.
Which Starship Troopers is another great satire.
That's another great satire that went a totally different direction from the actual book.
I know. Yeah, that's
if they'd followed the book more, it would have been way more dystopian.
Paul Verhoeven with that and RoboCop and Total Recall and it's like they're all satires.
Yeah,
they're these hyper violent satires of just like all right.
And I'm not even gonna lie, if I'm flipping through because I still have cable.
Yeah.
If I'm flipping through and I see Starship, I'm like, okay, we're stopping here.
Starship Troopers is one of those movies. It's like
that one, Tombstone. There's like another one I know.
There are several of those movies, and you just kind of flip through the channel. You're like, oh no, I know what I'm doing the next 2 hours.
Yeah,
this is but yeah, it's like I said, watching, especially in our current state of the union of our political discourse and polarization and whatever buzzword you want to put in here,
quagmire,
there you go. Whatever buzzword you want to throw in here,
giggity.
This movie, for being 30 plus years old, like really, like I was watching going, wow, this plays really well in 2021.
That was another reason why I wanted to do this one, because not only was it released this month in '88, it has really aged well into where we're at now,
and which is something which is so funny because a lot of that stuff, especially from that era, people
did not age well.
It didn't age well, for whatever reason. And that was something that Nada says at one point, like when they're him and I can never remember the dude's name. Keith David's character,
Frank Armitage.
Frank, him and Frank are talking like that, that first night or whatever.
Yeah.
And he says to Frank, no, I believe in the American way. And that hey, if I just put my head down and work hard, then it'll be all right.
Yeah, that's Frank saying that. Frank's.
I thought it was Nada that said that.
Was it Nada?
It was Nada, yeah, because Frank is he with everything that happened in Detroit. Because he was talking about how like the steel mills had left Detroit and everything was bankrupt. And, and he had come there. He left a wife and kids behind to try to do something.
No, you're right.
And Nada's like, no, I believe in the American dream. I believe that if I just work hard, then things will be all right. I have optimism. I have, you know. And it's one of those things where we see that get completely
destroyed.
Do we want to talk about how, of course, it was a woman that like brought the whole thing down?
As I don't want to be sleeping on the couch tonight, I'll let you handle that one.
That's one of the great things about being singles. I get to say all this stuff now. But yeah, it was whenever they introduced Holly or was it Molly or
Holly?
Is it Holly or Molly?
It is Holly.
It is Holly. Okay,
Holly Thompson.
Thompson, yeah, and,
who works at Cable 54.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. You see the light bulb. Oh, here's the other thing. We are called the Project Gen X podcast because we're a couple of Gen Xers and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Let's talk about the Gen X of all this. Talk about nihilism. Don't trust anybody. There's a conspiracy. They're trying to hold you down. Everybody dies at the end.
Yeah. Yep.
And what's the last thing Nada does as he's blinking out? He's giving the finger to
the helicopter that's blowing it out. But that last scene, the scene that it ends on, what's going on? What's
wrong? Yeah.
What's wrong, babe?
Yeah, I know. It's such an odd it's such an odd scene to end on. It's very abrupt.
No, it's jarring.
Oh, I know. Where it's like blah blah blah
jarring.
blah 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 naked woman. What? Oh, wow. That's the end. Okay, it's like
I think he did that on purpose because it was supposed to be. You were supposed to feel as jarred as what all these people waking up.
Some of that kind of felt like it was. Seeing it as many times as I have over the years, it's always kind of felt like that was kind of tacked on, it almost seems like a tack on,
like a cheap joke at the end.
Yeah, like, hey, what are we doing here? And of course, John Carpenter has never shied away from putting nudity in his movies.
But I literally think that last scene was really to make you feel extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it is, and like I said, it's a very jarring, it is. It's a very uncomfortable scene.
Yeah.
But it's not out of place, especially with everything that happened over the last couple minutes of it all. The one thing that I do, like I said, I'd never want to see a remake or a sequel to this even.
No.
I do kind of wonder what happens after that, though. Because let's be honest, especially in 1988. Now, I understand we're also talking about aliens, so maybe their tech is more advanced or whatever, but that Cable 54 is probably just an LA thing.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, the entire world is not getting...
Unless they are.
And that's what I said. Maybe maybe the whole U.S. got it, or something, because it is cable, and so, therefore, it would probably be in every home. But, again, it's one of those things where it's did everybody wake up? Or did just the people in LA wake up, or what?
Or the people in the U.S.
Right?
I like to think of, I forget what year in the 80s it came out, but you remember the television series V?
Oh yeah, that was in 83, 82 or 83.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So I like to think that this movie is probably what started, and then V is what came after.
Well, but V was before this, though.
I know.
V and then V, the final battle.
Yeah, I know. I'm just putting it out
maybe,
there.
Maybe, or maybe Alien Nation.
Oh, there you go. One? Yeah.
That's, I don't know. I mean, where do you rank this in the John Carpenter pantheon?
Ooh.
So we're talking about Halloween. We're talking about The Thing. We're talking about The Fog. We're talking about
Escape from New York. We're talking about Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, we're talking.
This has got to be a top 5.
We're talking,
if not a top 3.
Prince of Darkness, In the Mouth of Madness, Starman, Assault on Precinct 13, Christine.
This has got to be at least a top 5, maybe a top 3.
I mean, obviously, he's done some other stuff here, but this is... I'm not going into all of it because some of it, let's be honest, like his Vampires was not good.
No, that was not good at all.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those...
I'm not saying everything he's ever touched has turned to gold. He has had some missteps in his history.
But he did, what was it, that remake of Village of the Damned, which is not that good. I never really cared much for that first one a whole lot. I mean, the creepy kids of it all is one thing, but I gotta say that it's probably number 2 on my list, behind a Halloween.
Okay.
I mean, but then when you get past 2, when you get down to 3, 4, 5, whatever, they're all a jumble. Escape from New York and The Thing and I'll be honest, I have never been as big of
Halloween. They Live, Escape from New York, are probably top 3.
Big Trouble in Little China.
That's got to be
got to be in there.
4 or 5,
right? So
I really, really enjoyed Christine.
Right.
So that's probably in my top 5 also.
But I think I enjoyed that more because it's a Stephen King property than I did because it's a John Carpenter property. And the two of them working together works. I'm fine with that.
But the way the thing was shot and the way the story was told, it's a little different from the book.
Right.
And it has to be by necessity.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
But I'm sorry, that's still one of my favorites from when I was a kid growing up. Yeah, and of the different, because I was a huge Stephen King fan also.
Yeah, Christine is probably somewhere in the middle as far as Stephen King movies. There are others like Maximum Overdrive and Pet Sematary and a few things like that are, and a lot of people don't even think either one of those are the best Stephen King stuff, No. But it is one of those, obviously, Misery, but chapter 1, but qualify that.
But those mid 80s Stephen King movies have a certain aesthetic to them.
Children of the Corn. Forgot that one. I mean, I love that one. That was so good.
I mean, that's a good one.
There's something creepy about all that corn. There's just something about that. I know you grew up there, so you can tell.
No. I lived in South Central Illinois for 7 or 8 years, and it's literally miles of corn or soybeans, and you can be on a road and drive for 4 hours, and that's
all you see.
Nothing but corn on both sides of you, and crossroads, because all the roads at that point.
They're grids.
They're grids. They just went through and gridded them off.
Right.
So if you miss your right-hand turn, you go down a mile and you turn right and then backtrack a little bit.
Right.
But, in the middle of the night, this is one of the
middle of the day. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is one thing that I know has been done, because I cannot confirm or deny that I may have done this, but, we would get somebody and we would blindfold them and take them out and go snipe hunting and then just leave them out in the corn. And they'd have to walk back to town.
Allegedly. I've heard about that kind of stuff happening.
Yeah.
It's
not to mention the creepy graveyard that was out in the middle of everything that had that was a special graveyard that we'll talk about off of air.
Yeah.
So, but corn is.
There's some, and again, it goes to the. I grew up predominantly in the city.
Yeah.
Now, I had family that lived outside of the city.
Yeah.
And
let's call it you're a city boy.
Yeah, I'll admit it. I mean, country living has always been one of those things that I've, even as a kid, I used to talk about. When I got older, I might wonder. Yeah, I know. I know. As soon as I said it, I heard the Green Acres thing. But but it is one of those things that I've thought about a lot over the many my years of like, hey, this actually is sounding better and better all the time, and having some family that live out of the country or out in the country, away from the city, that had like
up around where I live.
That had at least at one point some a field with I think it was I think they were doing soybeans, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was soybeans, and it was one of those things that you would kind of go through, and it was when the summer when it had all grown pretty high.
Soybeans doesn't get high.
Maybe it wasn't soybeans. What do they have? I don't know. Whatever it was.
Soybeans does not.
Maybe
get
it wasn't.
tall.
I think they did soy and they did something else too.
Probably canola.
It's been a long time.
Did they do canola?
I don't know. I killed a lot of brain cells between then and now. I'm sure Charlie can get in touch with me and let me know when I'm. Yeah. Because my cousin Charlie listens to the show.
What's up, dude?
Yeah. Thanks for driving everything. He's a truck driver, so he's the one.
Oh, we salute you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
We salute you.
But it is there is something about being out like that, especially for city folk that will like. oh, this is both peaceful and unsettling all at the same time.
Well, I mean, that's, you're in town. You're used
Right.
to there being a lot of people around.
Right.
You're used to there always being noise going on. And when you get out in the country, it's
something.
It's quiet.
A night.
But it's also noisy.
A night in the country is one of the loudest things you will ever hear. And I mean that in that the silence is loud, but also the fact that most people kind of forget that you get out far enough to where you're kind of like in the woods or, or far enough away from civilization where there's a lot of animals. Those animals are making a lot of noise all through the night.
It's an old joke. You can be sitting at a deer stand and have a deer sneak up underneath you, and you never see them until they're running away.
Absolutely.
But you can have a pair of squirrels come out of a tree and start wrestling with each other, and it sounds like you've got an elk herd coming directly at you.
My dad tells a story about many, many years ago going deer hunting. And he said he was sitting. He wasn't in a stand, but he was like I think he said he was like under the tree. Like
so he was still hunting.
He was. Yeah, it was one of those things where he was down on the ground.
Yeah.
Like I think he said he was sitting under a tree.
Yeah, that's called still hunting.
And he heard something, and he turned around, and he had an apple that was in his back pocket, and there was a doe that was eating the apple out of his. He had no clue that it was even there until.
Well, we're actually starting to get some bear back in the area.
Oh yeah,
a year and a half ago, I was driving home.
We're getting a whole bunch of stuff back in the area.
Well, a year and a half ago, I was driving home, and I had a adolescent black bear run across the road in front of me. I almost hit him. I was like, "Oh, that was a bear!"
Yeah.
And so I called TWRA,
right,
which is our local wildlife
resource,
and reported it. And they're like, "You're nuts. There's no bear in the area." And within 3 months, people all over Springfield and Greenbrier and all that was like, "Hey, I've seen a bear.
Right.
Hey, I've seen a bear."
And there's enough wilderness up there around that area that bobcats are all up through there.
Well, bobcats are normal.
I know,
but we're starting to get some cougar back in the area too.
Coyotes have.
Well, coyotes have
been around, but they're starting to like really invade downtown Nashville too
we've got an overpopulation problem with them, and there's actually a no limit on killing them or season on killing them right now because they've become such a menace.
Right? Did you see the video? We were so off topic.
Oh yeah,
you saw the video a couple of years ago.
This happens every time we get towards the end of the episode.
I guess you saw the video. If I find it, I'll put it in a link in the notes of. There was a news report, somebody that, downtown Nashville, which is very heavily populated now. And I mean, it's just like miles of concrete and buildings and, whatever. That a coyote got inside the Nashville, the Music City Center, which is our convention center, our big multi-million-dollar, blah, blah. And it was in one of the bathrooms on the, up on the counter. Like at the sink, like howling, like it was scared. It was like it made its way. One of the automatic doors, one of the automatic doors is open, and it got in and it walked through and went into the bathroom and got up and was howling up on the thing, wanting to get back out. But the thing is, everybody's like, "Wow, a coyote!" And that's really. Well, but the thing is, they said no, that happens quite a bit because of all the trash.
Right,
and I saw
scavengers.
One. Right, and I saw one not long after that. I was out driving, a ride share. And I was going down the interstate just outside of downtown, and it was one running along the interstate. And
well, you've also got to understand the amount of deer.
And there's that too, dude.
Because there's no hunting inside of Davidson County.
Right.
And
we're pushing them out of their habitats. And
because they're not being harvested, and because there's no.
And what's sad is that more and more I'm seeing them on the side of the road where they've been hit.
Because we've got an overpopulation problem in Davidson County where Nashville is, because there is no hunting.
Right.
There's no wildlife management going on in the county because even TWRA can't take them.
Yesterday I was driving down Gallatin Road over here, down a major. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's a major thoroughway. that goes like all the way into downtown, like through the north side of Davidson County. and I saw a young buck walk up. Like, I was going south. It walked up on the east side of this highway. It was a 4-lane highway, and it was standing in a front yard, and it was looking across the street, and I was like, "Oh, don't do it, don't do it." And it was one of those things. I kept looking in my rearview mirror, like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't." And it never did while I was there. But it's one of those things that I have seen plenty of deer on the side that have been hit on the side of the road.
Over in my in-laws' neighborhood in the west side of Nashville. I can't tell you how many times I've walked out their back door, and in their backyard, almost like right up on the back porch, there'll be 10, 12 deer just standing there.
Well, down here, there's this Neely's Bend area over here near me that like has always been pretty rural. Yeah. I mean, even like inside,
undeveloped.
Well, there's a lot of farmland and stuff back down there. And in the last decade, they've started building a lot of houses and stuff
and pushing
them out, which means that they're pushing them from an area that's undeveloped into a much more developed area. Yeah, where I live, like half a mile from a major thoroughway, where it's like really busy and that kind of stuff. A few years ago, I came home and there were three deer in my backyard. I've lived in this neighborhood, in this house, my entire life. I've never seen deer in this neighborhood. Yeah. Ever.
Go ahead and keep pushing those up north.
But it's one of those things that like every once in a while I'll see one kind of walking through the neighborhood. Here I just saw one not just a couple of months ago. It was like real early in the morning. My dogs weren't outside. I went and opened the door and let them out, and they immediately start, what are you doing? Sure enough, there's a young deer walking down, I've got a fenced-in front yard. It walked down the street and then walked over into my neighbor's yard and went up and over to the next street. I was like, wow, never saw that until just a few years ago. And I've seen as many as 5 or 6 of them in my backyard.
Y'all go ahead and push those up north. Yeah. Push those up towards my house.
Yeah.
Because one of these days I'm gonna fill my freezer.
There you go. Well, the other day I was taking my son to school, and there was a young buck that was walking through the front yard, the front, of that.
We're talking about the original organic meat.
Oh, I know, it's so good. Venison is so good, man. Venison chili. Have you ever had venison chili? Oh my God.
Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? My dad used to. My dad was a big hunter, and back when he could get around.
I'm not. Right? I've never been hunting before. I've talked plenty about. I've never shot a gun. I've never. It's one of those things that I've always like. But and being the animal lover that I am, it's like, again, a lot of family who are hunters. Yeah. But the thing is they're not trophy hunters. They legit. It's one of those things. They'll go out and like. They bring the meat back. They have do whatever it is. They cook it. They deep freeze it. They process. They do all that kind of stuff, and like they eat on it for months. It really is just one of those things that I don't know that any. I don't know. There's probably a couple of them that have like the actual trophy, whatever. But that wasn't the,
Most hunters, when they're going out to hunt, they're going out for the meat,
right?
And if they happen to come across, a really
right.
First off, if they come across a really nice buck that's got a nice set of antlers on it and all that, depending on how old it is, more than likely they're not going to shoot it. They're going to let it go on by, because they want that buck to get with as many doe as possible to replenish and build a better deer.
It's funny because like. Where I'm living,
because most of the hunters I know are actually huge conservationists on top of it.
But it's also one of those things of like, I've talked to people who live in rural areas, like really rural areas, and like, the deer and everything, and they kind of view them as they're like rodents. It's like, you understand they're going to come through, they're going to like tear up your yard, they're going to eat your crops, they're going to, that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things where it's like they understand like that. No, they're beautiful creatures, but we have to keep the population down, or else they'll.
You have to do animal management,
right?
If you let them overpopulate, like they have in a lot of places, because they've outlawed hunting, you get things like chronic wasting disease.
Yes. And you also just get starvation, if nothing else, because there's just not enough food.
There's not enough food to sustain them.
What is it? What is that?
And there's less and less of it, because as more and more rural areas get developed, there's less and less food for them.
And for the other city folk out there that's listening, if you ever move to the country and you're just so like, oh, look at all these deer, they're so magnificent. If you ever want them to go away, it'll happen. The day that hunting season starts, you'll not see any more. They're everywhere. Any hunter will tell you that.
Yeah.
Deer are everywhere until the first day of hunting season, then you can't find them anywhere. They just disappear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah. Again, not being a hunter and not, but it's still one of those things, it comes back to it. That is the whole... I don't know how to field dress a deer. I don't know how to, all that kind of stuff. And most people don't because they don't have to.
No, most people don't know where their food comes from.
Absolutely.
I mean, the majority of Americans, the majority of the world, don't know where their food comes from. Mm-mm. It's all already pre-butchered.
Yeah, it comes from the grocery store,
and it comes with a sticker on it.
Right, it comes from the grocery store. That's where it comes from. It's like no.
Folks who hunt are very heavily involved in their food.
And that's also one of the things that you will every once in a while get a conversation and something to be said about the Native Americans and there's always that one person they used every part of the buffalo. Fine, what does that have to do with the conversation we're having? But the thing is they used every part of the buffalo. I mean, it was
and a lot of hunters will use as much of that animal as possible.
Absolutely.
In fact, a lot of the processors. Here's one thing that most people don't know is that there is a huge organization of hunters that they'll deer hunt and they'll fill their freezer, and anything that won't go in their freezer, they actually donate meat to homeless shelters. Yep. They're actually helping feed the homeless.
Yep.
In fact, there's a certain processor. There's a certain processor here in Nashville that if you take your deer to them to be processed, a certain percentage of your deer is going to be automatically donated to.
That is one of the things in Texas where they have such a problem with the wild boars and stuff. And they have these. And some of them have come under fire of because they literally have these helicopter hunts where they go out.
Hold on, let's clear something up. These are not wild boar. No, these are
invasive species.
These are domestic pigs,
right?
That have either escaped from a farm somewhere or people have purposely let go out into the wild. These are not actual boars,
right? And they go out and they will multiply like you wouldn't believe. And
you're talking about litters. I forget how many weeks apart.
Right.
They can have litters, I think it's 8 times a year.
Something like that.
And they're in the numbers of 15 to 20 to 25 a litter.
So then now you've got multiple pigs that that become mature after a little while that can do the same thing. And then all of a sudden
they will cut a swath across a piece of farmland. That looks like a tornado went across there. We're talking about millions in food process and crops that are just destroyed.
What I was getting to with that, it's not just like I said, some of these helicopter hunts have come under fire. It's just people going out wanting to slaughter pigs. It's no. They go down after they have this hunt. They take all those pigs to the processing plant, and then they donate all of that. They take some.
It also depends. They have to go through and they have to test each one of those animals and go through because there's quite a bit of that meat that's no good to eat. You can't.
The stuff that is good though, they wind up donating to homeless shelters and and different stuff like that. So it's one of those things. Again, you go back to the whole we as Americans
and let's call it like it is. Those are not hunts. They're
kills. I mean,
no, it's not even a kill. We're talking about rodent eradication, because these things are the biggest rats.
Well, that's one of the problems. What was it in Northern California? They're having real problems with this kind of thing because of all of the quote unquote preservation laws that are on the books. It's kind of like with their wildfires and stuff. It's if you don't clear out the dead wood because you're no, we have to leave all that stuff there. Well, that's kindling for your forest fires.
If you don't do,
it's all about conservation, is what it comes down to.
If you don't do your land management and your conservation, nature is going to take care of it for you. How nature takes care of undergrowth and
burns it off.
It literally will start a fire, or you'll have a lightning hit that will start a fire, and it'll burn all that out so that it can
and
have
everything else.
So it can have new growth and replenish that area.
Well, it's like Pink Floyd said in '94. She will take it back one day. That's and really and truly, that's whatever your belief system is. The concept of Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Well, Mother Nature is undefeated. Okay, that is.
Yeah.
whether we want to admit it or not, that is. We do our own stuff to screw things up, but Mother Nature is undefeated.
That she's going to fix something.
Yeah, she fixes it.
She fixes it,
and it's not pretty.
Nope.
So, anyways, on that note,
since we've veered so far off,
as we normally do, we want to say also this is going to post just a few days before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And we hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday with your family.
Absolutely. Be safe.
If you're traveling, if you're not, at least say hi on Zoom or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yep.
I am a huge, and it's one of those things, especially as I've gotten older. I am a huge proponent of family at the holidays.
Yeah.
I could care less about the gifts and all that kind of stuff.
You're talking about that other holiday
that
I don't want to mention because it might snow early.
But it's also one of those things where it's obviously, having a kid now, of course, I enjoy seeing him open his presents and all that stuff. Yeah. But as I've gotten older, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that the holidays in general have just become one of those I enjoy the family more than I did when I was young. It's like used to. It was kind of one of those, it's fun to go see your cousins or whatever, blah blah blah. And then after a couple hours, you're like, all right, seriously, can I get out of here? Now I'm like, nah, dude, I'll stay all day. I don't care.
It's like, no, wait a minute. Why would we go out to eat and spend money when there's 3 more meals?
Right. And we're still,
and there's football on.
Yeah, there's that too. Of course, I'm a Cowboys fan. The Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving Day.
Last year, we can't all be perfect.
Last year was not a fun game to watch. So, the best part about last year's game against the Redskins is that I had Antonio Gibson on my team, and he scored like 3 touchdowns and went for like 150 yards. I'm like, yep, I won that week.
I haven't really been paying attention. You guys are doing okay this year, right?
Who? Titans?
Cowboys?
Yes. Cowboys are doing well. 7-3, I think.
Oh, that's better than I would have thought.
Somewhere, I think 7-3, something like that.
My team still sucks. So
yeah, they're not.
Poor Chicago Bears.
But they have.
We may have a base to build off.
Trey
of.
Fields I think is going to be a good quarterback long term. He's a rookie and he's having all the problems that rookies have. Plus the fact they've been in you guys have been in a rebuild for a while.
Well, since '85,
basically.
Like that.
Yeah. But it could be worse. It could be the Jets or the Lions. Or Jaguars, Cleveland.
See, now I'm depressed. Now I need some sausage. I need to go find me some Italian sausage.
What we were saying is we hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We will be back with some more stuff. I'm still trying to put together my epic episode that when we get there you'll understand, because it's become one of those things. It's like, it started off as this one thing, and then it's like, oh wait, no, there's more. Oh no, there's more to get. Oh, there's even more to get into.
You went down the rabbit hole.
I did, and it's when we get to the topic, it's one of those things. It's both fascinating and sad at the same time.
Well, I cannot wait to learn and be used as your whipping boy for yet another episode that you won't tell me what it is.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, thank you so. Go and check out our social media. Of course, there's Instagram and Discord and Facebook.
We've had a couple new folks join. So
Discord, we have
come over and join the party.
It's fun. We're building a community. There.
And that's the thing. We want this to be a community. Absolutely. We don't just want to be talking at you. We want you guys to talk back to us.
You guys that are listening, especially the ones that we don't know on a personal basis, it's like, I miss so, hey, it's nice, I'm so happy to have you, found us randomly on YouTube and then, wound up in a couple other communities on Discord and other stuff, and we're always happy to hear from you, as well as everybody else. But like people like her, that's how we know her is because of Discord more than anything.
It's how we get to talk to her.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things that's awesome that we're building this this community. And then when we
community
hear from
only
you,
works when you talk back to us. Come on, talk back to us.
And that's the best way to do it is go get on Discord.
Yeah.
I mean, there's anyway, if you go to Instagram and you send a message, I will respond to you. Okay. I mean, that's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I mean, I carry the Instagram. Dave carries the Facebook,
which I've been slacking off again because work's kicking my tail.
It is what it is. But it's one of those things, especially on Discord, in real time.
We're both there.
You can more than likely, if you post something on Discord, you'll hear from one of us, if not both of us, within a few minutes. More than likely,
or at least within the day.
Yeah, sometimes things get, but 9 times out of 10, one or both of us will be like, "Oh, hey, blah blah blah," So, and again, we've got some great people over there. Barry is in there that was on our last episode, as well as several other people, and we've also gotten some of the people over from the grown up, the Gen X grown up Discord, and John from the show is in there, and it's one of those things we have a good time, and if you guys want a really good time, go join Gen X Grown Ups Discord.
Yeah, if you're not listening to their podcast,
go listen to
why aren't you?
Yeah, go listen to them, but also join their Discord, because let me tell you about a community.
they've got a great community over there,
and we love them. So
and sometimes we just go over there to poke the bear.
Yeah, and sometimes you go.
Sorry, George.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Now we love all those guys. So, anyways, again, everybody, thanks for joining us. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
That's Alan Smith.
And that is Big Dave.
And we'll see you later.
See you.